Hi, everybody. We are live. Thank you for tuning in to the Speak Well podcast. I am your host, Yukia, for tonight, but it's not about me tonight. It's not about me any of the nights. I have a very special guest. I told you all that I wanted to bring you professionals, not novices, not people who were just speaking, not knowing what they're speaking about, but people who have been to school, people who are well studied, leaders, teachers, thinkers, those who are in the field and who are actually doing the work. So I have my guest in the waiting room. I'm going to bring her up. Her name is Dr. Christi. When I bring her up, then I'll do her intro, give you some information about her, and then we'll jump right in. We are not going to keep her long because, again, she could have been anywhere in the world on tonight. She could have been on anybody's podcast, but she's here with us at the Speak Well podcast. So I love to be mindful of other people's time. And so, in saying that, I'm going to go ahead and bring her up. And then when I bring her up, I'm going to introduce her. Feel free to drop questions in the chat. Feel free to put whatever you want to put in the chat. And then some of those I'll begin to highlight. I'll make sure she posts her information. She's going to tell you who she is, where she started, why she started. What I'm going to read is just, a 0.5% of who she is and what she's done. But then she's going to jump right in and explain who she is to you all. So I'm going to bring up my guest. Hi, Dr. Christi. How are you?
Hello. How are you this wonderful evening?
Yes, I am doing well. I want to say thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for just deciding to sit with us, to sit with me on tonight. There are so many men and women that um, I wouldn't say follow me, but support me. Um, and many of the topics that we will probably discuss tonight is so well needed because I look through my timeline, I look through my text messages, I listen in, I listen to community complaints, and our community is in need. We're struggling, right? We're struggling every day just to try to get ahead. And most of it is because, again, I like to say when people look at me, this is survived trauma. People may say, wow, I didn't know trauma could look that well. It's just really grace, grace that you see. But there's so many people who are like me that don't know how to survive from trauma or don't know how to survive in trauma, right? So I'm going to introduce you and let you do your thing. So on tonight, I have Dr. Christi Venable here. She's a licensed professional counselor by trade and an award-winning business owner, corporate wellness expert, organizational leadership and culture change agent, and keynote speaker. She is a certified Gallup Strengths Finder coach. She is the founder of Smile Therapy, where I am a client, a multi-million dollar mental health, wellness, and consulting company that she managed to build from the ground up. Smile has been named one of the fastest growing companies in the country by Inc. 5000 2 years in a row. That's powerful. Christi was named Small SBA's Person of the Year for Washington, D.C. in 2020 and Enterprising Woman of the Year in 2022. Christi is also a proud member of the Bow Collective, a collective of the top 1% of Black women business owners in the U.S. That's big. That is big. And so, in just reading your bio, again, I want to salute you and say thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me, first of all, and thank you for just what you're doing here on this podcast. For your listeners, for whoever is following you, I'm sure that you are making a great impact in their lives. So thank you for what you are doing. Yes, and thank you for the introduction. It is the work that I do. I am a licensed professional counselor. And the organization that you stated at the end is the Bow Collective. And so we are actually a collective of the top 1% of Black women business owners.
Mm.
And that in itself is definitely powerful because you're talking about Black women who have companies that are, revenues are over $1 million. And if anyone knows any statistics, usually around maybe less than 1% of Black women business owners usually even get to that 1% revenue. So that's why, we are so important and we are working to help others, that's coming behind us get to that place. But I'm definitely grateful to be here. Like you said, I am a licensed professional counselor. I'm in the mental health and wellness space. I've been in this space now for over a decade.
Mhm.
I am from the DC area, so born and
Whoop,
raised
whoop,
in
whoop, whoop, whoop.
Southeast DC, always, representing my humble beginnings.
Yes.
And so, for me, this is definitely my God job, just really focusing in on mental health, helping our community to really minimize the stigma around it, but also helping us to just know that it's okay to not be okay. I think we have, as a community, been taught that we had to be strong.
Mhm.
But in the end, that hurts us, right? That hurts our well-being. It hurts us in the long run. It hurts us with our physical health, right? Because a lot of people don't understand, when you struggle with your mental health, it comes out physically. And that's why Black Americans in specific, we have such high rates of everything:
Mhm.
hypertension,
Mhm.
heart disease. All of that really is a direct connection to what we're managing emotionally. So definitely excited to be here and just get into, some of the topics that you want to discuss
Okay.
around mental health and wellness. We do at Smile, we do mental health in the community, but we are really starting to work more closely with corporations or organizations to
Mhm.
really look at how do we respond differently to mental health in the workplace. And I really think that's where we have to put our energy, because all of us work, right? We all work. It's
Yes.
the same of how we think about putting interventions and solutions in place for students in
Mhm.
schools. It's the same thing, as we become adults. We have
Yes.
to put those same kind of the thought process into mental health and wellness for the adults in these workplaces. Because honestly, they're stressing us out, right? And it's Stress Awareness Month, so I'm sure we'll talk about that a little
Yes.
bit.
Yes.
But
Yes.
that's where our focus is now. I'm really
Okay.
focusing on corporate wellness and how do we improve that.
Yes. I wanted to ask you, shout out to you being a Ward 8 girl like myself, right?
All
I
day.
remember it was a time where they said nothing good comes out of Ward 8, and
They did say that, right?
every time I think, and every time I look, and every time I sit, and every time I'm in a room, I see us in the room and we dominate the room, right? We're in your schools, right? We're in your mental health agencies, we're in your courtroom, we're in the house, right? And that's just big because God knows some of the things that you had to walk over and walk through in Southeast. But I want to ask you, what was your driving force behind becoming um a mental health counselor? What drove you to that?
Honestly, when we were younger, that wasn't a big thing for us, right? I
Mhm.
think we did have a counselor. So, born and raised in Southeast, I grew up on like the Anacostia area. And I remember at elementary school, we did have a counselor. We had a school counselor. However, I think at that time, the school counselor only worked with the students who had special needs.
Mhm.
And so as we got older, and in high school, right, I think that's what we really remember school counselors. But their role was really to make sure that we stayed on progress with grades, make sure we were up to date with our credits, helping us for at that college prep. That was really their goal. However, what really even set my mind on the counseling field was actually having a bad counselor.
Mhm.
In high school, unfortunately. So, we had So I'll say my friends and I, we were top of our class. We went to a small charter school,
Mhm.
math and science, and we actually end up having a counselor. She was only there maybe for a year, and I feel like she was only there for our 12th grade year because that's the only time I remember her. But essentially, we had this counselor, and we're at the top of our class. We were so excited to like apply for colleges and do all the things. And she literally told each one of us actually that we weren't going to get into like the schools that we were applying to, and that basically we shouldn't reach so high. um it was and it's crazy because we all kind of we talked to each other about it. We laughed about it because we're like, you, first of all, ma'am, you don't know us.
Yeah.
You don't even, you don't know anything about us. At the time, I think when I was in a senior, I probably applied to 7 to 10 schools. But I knew what school I wanted to attend. I wanted to go to Penn State. So that was my number one choice. Some of my other friends, they were going to Duke, and they were applying to all types of
Mhm.
grand schools, right? Because we were at the top of our class. This is where we wanted to go.
Yeah.
And so she really, unfortunately for us, we were very strong-willed students. We were very confident in our abilities. And, we knew we would get into the schools that we wanted to go to. And so we didn't allow her words to stop
Mhm.
us from
Mhm.
applying, or anything. We just kept going. And we all got into the schools that we wanted to get to, not just got into the schools. We all went to school and we all graduated from school.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't even remember the lady's name.
Yeah.
However, one of my friends he said, we always have kind of like this running joke, if we ever see her, we gonna
Yeah.
give her a piece of our mind, right? But I say all that to say that really stuck with me, because if we weren't the confident kids that we were, right? We were confident in our ability. Our mind was set on college. It was, it was just set. So it was nothing that would stop us on no one. But what if we weren't those kids? What if we were kids that weren't confident? Even smart kids are not always confident.
Yeah.
That would have deterred someone from applying to the school that they wanted to go to, or
Mhm.
would have discouraged them to go from going to school altogether. And
Mhm.
so it was like in that moment, I said, you know what? I'm gonna be a school counselor, and I'm gonna make sure that every kid that comes from where I come from know that you can do whatever it is that you want to do.
Mhm.
You are not, just because you come from a certain area does not put limitations on what you can do and where you can go. And
Mhm.
so that really started the road, of that counseling piece for me. I
Mhm.
didn't even know all of what it and count, what it consisted of, but I knew that I needed to be there for other students so that I can be that positive voice for them, so that I can be that one pushing them, and making sure that they were going to be confident in their own abilities to be something of themselves. And so
Mhm.
that's really how I even got into school counseling in
Okay.
the first place. So when I went to school, I actually went to school as a psychology major. And then I switched to business, but I kept psychology as my minor.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how I even got into the field. A negative interaction.
Um. So when I told a couple of people that I had a therapist, a counselor coming on, everybody has ask this, ask this, ask that. What does, and I'm gonna just jump right in, right? And listen, this is the Speak Well podcast, so this is a safe space, right? But
That's
this
right.
is a very transparent space. So for me, I knew I needed to start a podcast because I am the one that the teachers also counted out, because I say what other people won't say. I ask what other people won't ask, because the question has to be asked, the conversation has to be had.
Yep.
What does mental health look like in the workplace?
So right now, that's a good question. And I would say that it's not so much what does mental health look like in a workplace, because it can look similar, right? People can have similar struggles in the workplace, right? We all deal with different things. Um, the anxieties, the depressions, have different traumatic experiences, and how we manage them may be similar or different. So all of those things are the same. It's really on how we actually respond to it in the workplace, right? So we're all managing so much. Um, and sometimes, or how it used to be, is we used to have this turn off your personal life at the door. But you are human. So you really can't turn off your personal life at the door, right? And so now now the conversations are, we understand that people are struggling with their mental health. We understand that people are managing multiple things, and that they can't turn it off at the door. They actually bring it to work with them. And so now it's a question of, well, how do we actually respond to that? What do we do if someone is struggling with their mental health? And so I'll just kind of give you some tips on what should you look out for to even know that you are struggling with your mental health. A lot of things, if you're dealing with anxiety, you will have a lot of worry. So you may be worried about a lot of things. You may get a lot of anxiousness, like before you do something, maybe before a meeting, maybe before you meet with someone, like if it's your supervisor or some other boss of some sort. You may have a lot of anxiousness. And so with that, you also may get a lot of somatic pains, right? And when I say somatic, that means physical. So you may have stomach aches. You may feel like you have to use the restroom a lot. A lot of times people don't understand that comes from anxiety, right? When we have really high anxiety, it actually comes out physically for us. And so, and you also can have panic attacks. So if you get so hyper, in your anxiety, it can cause a panic attack. And what does that look like? Hyperventilating, breathing so fast and you feel like you can't catch your breath, struggling for air, right? Getting really hot, sweating, palm sweating. All of those things are symptoms of anxiety. And so take notes if you are having any of those symptoms, because that means that you may be struggling with anxiety. And I'll say a lot of times what brings on anxiety for people, one thing I know for sure is micromanager. So if you have a boss or a supervisor that's a micromanager, that can cause you a lot of anxiety and also cause you a lot of self-doubt. Because they could be questioning everything and just over your shoulder. And so you start thinking, well, dang, do I know how to do my job? And now you're second guessing yourself because they second guess everything. And so, that's why we also go in and we like to work with leaders, because some leaders, depending on their personality, they don't realize that they're micromanaging. And it's really their personality. So if people are type A, they have usually micromanaging, a personality, right? And so we have to really help them to, one, acknowledge that, and to be able to catch themselves when they are having those different behaviors toward their supervisees. So that's how anxiety can show up in the workplace. And then you have depression. And so, a lot of people deal with depression, right? Depression is very common, and it can come from a lot of different things. We can have depression when we, of course, is dealing with grief and loss. We can have depression we may have experienced a traumatic incident and it caused depression, a change in a relationship status. So many different things causes depression. And then sometimes maybe an incident that happened at work could cause depression. How you're being treated, right? If you're dealing with racism or biases or microaggressions, all of those things can cause depression in someone. And so, really, what you want to look out for with depression is you not being interested in things that you once were interested in.
Mm.
You having very low energy. You feeling like you don't want to, get out of the bed. Um, you're not interested in work. You are, maybe you can't even stay focused at work at all. So those are some things. You find yourself being very triggered and maybe crying a lot, or having a lot of emotions. Those are all signs and symptoms that you may be dealing with depression. Like you're always kind of in this cycle of even negative thinking, could also be a sign of that. And so, people really should monitor their depression symptoms, because depending on really how low it goes, then you turn into having suicidal thoughts.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right. And then, from, of course, we know from suicidal thoughts, then we actually have the acting on the suicidal thoughts.
Mhm.
And so we want to take note if we are dealing with some depression in the workplace. And even if you don't feel comfortable with sharing that with your manager, you need to make sure you are taking time off. You need to make sure you are going to see your doctor, your primary care doctor, but also reach out to a therapist
Yes.
and really start talking through what are the incidents or what are the things that have drove you to this point of the depression.
Mhm.
And don't feel like you're the only one. Depression is so common, especially in America. We're probably all going to experience some depression at one point or another in our life. And so we just have to make sure we're talking through that. And so that's really what depression, looks like in the workplace. And so you have different types of mental health challenges that you can be experiencing. And it's really on how you manage them, but then also on how your workplace, how do they respond to mental health? So
Mhm.
you definitely want to be in a workplace that is very just one, psychologically safe for you. And unfortunately, we know that many workplaces are not. A lot of
Mhm.
workplaces, we're still dealing with toxic behaviors. But for me, it's like you need to determine, is that worth your mental health?
Mhm. Mhm. How do you know? I have a question in the chat. I definitely want to ask you, but how do you know? I don't know if I want to say how. What do you do when you feel like you are experiencing the anxiety, the depression in the workplace, but you don't have a supportive supervisor?
Mm. So I think that's a great question. So, I think that if you don't have a supportive supervisor, one, maybe try to get a supportive colleague to be kind of your ally within the workplace. And if you don't have, you could have that, but you also need to have your support system outside of work.
Mhm.
You have to build your support system outside of work, with your own friends, with your family. Really reach out to a therapist or a coach, or someone that you can confide in and you can talk through what you're managing. What people don't understand is if you just continuously allow, whatever to happen, and it causes that detriment to your mental health, you will eventually, like, your body will eventually shut you down,
Mhm.
right, if you don't do something about it. Because we have to remember, everything within us is interconnected.
Yes. Okay.
Mind, body, soul, interconnected.
Okay. So while you're also speaking to employees, you're also speaking to leaders on tonight. And so I have a leader who's in the chat asking, how can you tell if you are managing a narcissist in the workplace? So the employee is the actual narcissist. How can the manager manage that, without coming off not being supportive, right? So it's kind of like a thin line. um but how?
So is the question, how do you they think they're a narcissist
Yo,
and
so
they need to manage them, or they know they're a narcissist and they need to manage them?
how can you tell? So I've had this conversation. Um, we've had this conversation, and so she's managing a narcissist. And I'm going to change the question and rephrase it by saying, how do you deal with a narcissist while still being supportive?
Yeah. So, I think that one is a great question. And one thing you have to do with people who demonstrate narcissist behaviors is one, set boundaries for yourself. So even though you may be the leader, the manager, supervisor, they still may do some things that may get under your skin or push your buttons. So make sure you're setting your own boundaries first, right? Understanding, kind of what to respond to, when to say no to things, just like I don't know that relationship, but make sure you're setting your own boundaries.
Mhm.
And so I would say definitely do that first, like how to manage them.
Okay.
And I think making sure that you understand what your triggers may be, that, like the triggers that they may push for you, right? Because one, you have to have your own self-awareness. Managing anyone, you have to have your own self-awareness, because a lot of people who have narcissistic behaviors, they don't have great self-awareness, unfortunately, right?
Mhm.
And so make sure you have your own self-awareness of just how the interaction, affects you.
Okay.
So then you really know how to set your boundaries,
Okay.
right? So make sure you do that. And I think because it's because they are because they are a very interesting group, if I would say, I think that the way that you continue to just manage them effectively is always make sure that we are focused on the work.
Mhm.
Make sure that you are trying to be objective in however you're responding to them, but keep it on like the facts, right? You're really gonna have to keep to the facts with them,
Mhm.
because they can pull you into
Yes.
different directions,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Um, whether it's like with blaming, someone else, or it's never their fault and it's the other person.
Mhm.
So instead of us going down kind of that pigeonhole, let's stick to the facts with them. Let's be objective. Like, nothing that can seem as if we're being subjective, right? We're not giving our opinion. This is the facts. The
Yes.
fact is, these are the expectations of your work, of the workplace. This is what was done. This is what was not done.
Okay.
This is, um, this is how you did with this, this was not completed. So I think making sure we're just staying objective with them, keeping everything really work related
Yes.
is going to be very helpful as well. So keeping everything work related, making sure we're staying objective, also making sure you're just sticking to the facts and not with what you're thinking or what they're thinking,
Mhm.
because then you don't want to kind of go down pigeonholes
Yes.
with
Yes.
them as well. And really try to keep a professional relationship only,
Yes.
because crossing a line with them can also put you in a bad space if you are a
Yes.
supervisor.
Yes, I was going to say that. I feel like many narcissists even know that they're narcissists. They may not know that that is the word that they are, but they know that that is something, whether they admit to it or not. But I feel like they wait for the opportunity to kind of put the supervisor in a trick bag. So again, keep I'm piggybacking off Christy. Keep everything professional. Keep a paper trail, and I would even say let that paper trail be email, right? Because
Yep.
the text messages, yes, that's fine. But I feel like if this phone is your phone and it's not a phone, not work phones, I'm saying, because there's so many
Yeah.
loopholes and things that they use to try to trap you. And now, you're the one that's going to HR to try to defend yourself from this individual that may be missing a couple of screws. Um, what are some misconceptions? What are some common misconceptions about therapy and mental health?
Well, I think one common misconception that a lot of people have is that therapist is going to tell them what to do. They're going to give them all the answers. And that's not therapy, right? Our role as therapists, we're like your guide. So
Mhm,
we're there to just assist, right? We're your co-pilot.
mhm.
We're not your pilot. You are the driver, and we're in the passenger seat. So we are there to really help you to process through some of the things that is affecting your behaviors. We're there to help you become aware of them. We're there to help you discover them. We're there to support you through that process. Um, we're not there to give you the answers. Excuse me. We're not there to give you the answers. We're there to support. So I think that's a major misconception that people have when they come into therapy. Um, and I think we also have this stigma because when, especially maybe people of color, when we were introduced to social workers and kind of that whole system, we were introduced to them as the like the child takers, right? Like they come and they take the kids away if you do like the slightest thing. And
Mhm.
so because of that, a lot of people still have major anxiety around talking to a therapist,
Yes.
especially with their kids, because, they're like, oh my gosh, is my child going to say something that's going to make them, go call CPS and take my kid away?
Mhm.
And that's not our goal, right? And now really that's not even CPS goal. CPS goal is unification. How do we actually give you the
Yes.
support so that you can keep your child?
Mhm.
Because they don't have the capacity
Yes.
to get all these kids, right? So I think that's another misconception. And I also think that people sometimes feel like therapists are like creatures of another universe.
Yeah.
And it's like, nah, we actually regular.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think for us in specific in my company, when we go in and we work with like corporations or even when we're getting new clients, community, I think they are comforted when they just see us, right? Because one, we know for our community it's so helpful for us anyway to just be a little safer and more trusting if someone looks like us.
Mhm.
And so that's so important for some
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
right? And so we understand that. And so I think that could be another misconception. Therapists are not of another universe.
Mhm.
We are
Mhm.
human.
Not
We
alien.
go through our own, right. We go through our own trials and tribulations. Um, but we still have the capacity and the know-how and skill set to hold space for other people.
Yes.
Um,
Um, so lately I've been in this thing. I would say over the last couple, maybe like the last 2 or 3 years, I've been driving therapy, right? All while looking to be married to the right therapist. I've been driving therapy. So in our community, in our culture, it's been a stigma that if you go to therapy, something is wrong. You cuckoo, all of that, all of those things. What I'm seeing now in our culture is we're making therapy fly. You're hearing, your favorite artists and your favorite rappers talk about therapy. You're seeing it on your favorite reality shows. You're hearing it in rap music with Lil Durk. You're hearing it in therapy and on podcasts with Million Dollar. You're hearing it from some of your favorite people. And for me, I kept saying a couple of years ago, I want to make therapy look fly. Now, while I was saying I wanted I wanted to make therapy look fly. Again, I just didn't have the therapist I wanted to see. And here's the other thing. Many of the therapists didn't look like us.
Yeah.
And I know that we have a specific pocket of things that us as Black women and men deal with that other people may not always understand.
Yep.
So it is important to me to sit with the therapist who, one, is a professional, but two, can also say, so I'm big on who I sit under, whether it is a teacher, a professor, a doctor, a primary care. I went to a doctor one day, and my primary care physician is a he's I want to, well, I would say he's Caucasian, but he doesn't act that way, right? He acts like us. Every time I've asked him for something, he supported me in the thing that I needed. He didn't give me a whole bunch of feedback and you don't need this and why. He's always supported me in mental health, in my primary and all those things. One day I needed to see a doctor. He wasn't there. And there was a sister that was there. She was a nurse practitioner that day. First time I had a nurse practitioner in that office to see me, my blood pressure was sky high. And she said, she checked my blood pressure. My blood pressure was extremely high. She said, she said, what do you do? What kind of work do you do? And I was just kind of telling her, and she looked at me and said, let me tell you something, sister, from sister to sister, you need some time off. And I'm going to give you some time off. If that is, I think I went in probably like a Wednesday. She's like, if that means me giving you until Monday to be off, you need to relax. And I appreciated her for doing that. And from that moment on, I said, we gotta protect one another, because you can go to another office and they'll say, oh, you're fine. Here's a pill, get back on the clock. And I think that sometimes that's just so unfair, which is why it's important that you are working. You the same way your employer vets you and interviews you, you kind of got to do the same with your employer.
Yeah.
Do you support? Are these things that you support? What is your mission and your vision surrounding mental health and therapy? Because if you get in a space and you're not supported, your mental health can be worse than what it was, right? So if I can share with you or anything, and I'm not the professional in this arena, but I sit with professionals where that is what they do. Get you an employer that supports your mental health.
Yeah.
Some of us are in a season. We just got word that young man last night, 14, 15 years old, was shot in the chest and didn't make it. We get those of us that do this community work. We really have to take care of ourselves, and we have to unplug. If you work from 9 to 5, you got to unplug after 5:30, because I'm going to that's it will get in all of those things. Even if your mental health is not triggered by what you're going through in your own house, it's being triggered by all of the outside noise, and we got to be careful with that.
Yeah, and it's secondary traumatic experience. That's what, and traumatic stress, that's what we call it. And you're absolutely right. The work that you do also play a part in your mental health, right? Kudos to us that may be on the front lines, but baby, our mental health is at stake.
Every day.
Right? And so how do you make sure that even though you are doing valuable work, right? We know that. But how do you also make sure that you take care of you? Mm-hmm. Because if something happens to you, you can't do the work any longer.
Yes.
And so it's a real thing, right? People, we Black women have the highest rate of heart disease, hypertension, right? Where's that coming from? Stress.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's coming from stress.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when I say that we're all interconnected, we may push through, but our bodies tells us and it feels it. And so we have to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves. I'm really glad that she said, you know what, you need to rest, right? Because that's something that unfortunately we have been conditioned to think that if we rest, we're lazy, right? They have put this connotation on Black people in general, that we're lazy. And so we have fought right? My generation before me, generation before that, we have fought to
Yes.
now not have this connotation on us that we're lazy. So now we work so much
Yes. Yes.
to make sure that no one is calling us lazy, but now we're overworking ourselves
Yes.
and we're not allowing ourselves to even rest because we feel guilty about resting.
Mhm.
I literally have had this struggle with myself, especially in the beginning of my entrepreneurship. I struggled with resting
Mhm.
because I felt like I should be doing something. Like there's so much more to do, and I have so many different things in my head, and you need to be doing this and you need to be doing that. You don't have time to be sitting here just not doing anything. But I also had to remember that if I am not well, I can't continue on this journey.
Yes. Yes.
So, it's a real thing. It's definitely a real thing. Yes, and naps are definitely a part of my world. And everyone knows it. And so that's definitely major for us. So just definitely make sure that if you are going into a new workplace, you're asking those questions. And unfortunately, our generation, I think they say I'm a part of the millennials, but I feel like I'm a millennial. I feel like I'm but what was
Baby
before
boomer.
me? Boomer. I'm more closely aligned to the baby boomers because I don't
Yes.
know what the
Yes.
millennials what you're doing. But this new workforce, our Gen Zers and these other, the new age kids on the block, they're asking about that. They're asking what's your mental health benefits. This is actually, it's a study that says that the generation now, they will take a lower salary if the benefits are better. They
Mm.
are not going to work themselves to death. They hardly even work at some of them, right?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
say, you know what, y'all not working me to death.
Mhm. Mhm. And I like that for them.
And I like that for them too, because we didn't learn it.
We didn't learn it. I like that for them. I always say to my girls and to my supporters, being busy is not a flex. That's
No, it's
that
not
wearing a cape and being busy and being here and everywhere. That's no longer flex. In fact, that's that's not a flex at all.
at all.
Like I listen, people, oh, you so strong. That's not a flex either.
Yeah.
Now it's actually an insult. I don't want to be strong. I don't want to be busy. I don't want to be overworked. I don't want to look busy. Listen, I take naps. Naps are on my schedule. I will take a nap and listen, my lunch break is going to look like a 30-minute lunch and a 30-minute nap. There's no way because we've seen people drop dead and you're like, "Oh my gosh, she was just fine." So you thought she was fine.
Yeah.
So many people our age are dying of heart attacks.
Yeah.
No, you're overly stressed and you don't know it, and your body trying to tell you, and God, please go see a doctor so that you know. Get a blood pressure cuff
Mhm.
at home, right? We have to be preventive in our own health. You can't just go every day and you're working and all these things and you have nothing, right? I work for a council member, and over the last 2 years I've experienced a lot of death. I mean, very close to my heart. And there were times where we were working from home, and sometimes even working from home is not work. You're working,
Yeah. You're working.
and I was feeling something, but didn't feel like going to the whole, I'm exhausted, I'm this, I'm that. And one day after he just said to me, like, no, well, we needed to go in this day. He said, no, you're staying home. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like, no, don't worry about you're staying home to do nothing because however I said it, however I looked, he knew that
Mhm.
something was wrong, right? So you got to get with employers that care about you as a person, not just, oh, you're here to get the job done and once you're done, that's it. No, it is important that you get with people that value you.
Yeah.
That's what value looks like. Someone put yes, you can die from sleep deprivation. Take
Yes,
a
you
nap.
can.
Take a nap. You
Yes,
can't function
you
if you're a
can.
mom. You can't function. You can't think. You can't do nothing if you sleep. Then you're sleep deprived and riding on the road. You're running into stuff. It's dangerous.
Yeah, and we have to remember that sleep actually helps to rejuvenate us. You know, you get so many different benefits from sleeping.
Yes.
You know, and so we actually have to sleep. Like
Yep.
it's not even a thing, you know, that we should like we have to sleep. Our brain has to rest, right? If your brain is on nonstop, imagine what that's doing to your body.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You're not giving your body a chance to replenish, to heal itself. We have healing properties
Mhm.
in our
Mhm.
sleep.
Mhm.
So we have to make sure that we're getting enough rest. Yeah.
Okay. How does cultural background and identity play a role in your mental health treatment?
So are you saying treatment from medical professionals?
Um, I'm saying medical professionals. I'm saying, some people might gotta take a pill. Some people might gotta sit and talk to somebody. Um, eh, yeah, all of that.
So okay, so I'll go from this angle. Historically, unfortunately, Black and brown people were not given the best treatment
That's what I wanted to say. So
as
they can hear you say
it
it.
relates to our physical health, as it relates to our mental health, because of how society views us. Um, they tend to not take us as serious
Mm.
when we are relaying problems, when we are relaying pain, when we are relaying talking about different things that we're struggling with. They also tend to mislabel us. Um, and so we have to understand that culturally, certain things are prevalent for Black and Brown people. And so naturally, I'll give an example. Like naturally, we're more active, we're more hyper, we love dancing and like our ancestors actually like that was the thing with them, right? Just the communal, the dance, music, all those things. However, I would say with our students, so I used to be a school counselor, and what we saw was the over labeling of ADHD. Well, we know that kids are hyper.
Mhm.
That's actually not a
Mhm.
uncommon thing,
Yeah.
because we can see one student very hyper, this, that, and the third, that may be Black or brown, and they may get labeled, but then you see another student who may be doing the same thing and they won't get labeled.
Mhm.
They'll just get extra attention or something.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so we have to remember that the systems created in America was not created for us, and
Mhm.
they weren't created by us. And so I think that we've been really advocating for better service. We've been advocating um, for the biases and the racism and you know just still this different unconscious bias that a lot of health professionals have. We've been really advocating for them to be trained properly so that they can more effectively service our culture. So
Mhm.
that's kind of what we see, and that's really why for us in specific on therapists, why we are so really adamant about other Black and brown people becoming therapists, right? And becoming doctors, and becoming nurses.
Yes.
We understand each other, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So someone can we also understand culture, right? So, let's be very transparent. If we may have a situation, the kid come, oh, I got a whooping, yesterday.
Yeah. How
Well,
Go ahead.
we are we understand what that means,
Yeah.
right? And so we're not going to automatically, call CPS. 'Cause, well,
Yes.
we're going to have a deeper conversation.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna have a deeper conversation.
And
Yes.
it's not like they are, getting abused, right? So even that type of conversation has to be had, right? Like, but it's a cultural thing. It's a cultural thing. So I think having a therapist of color, having a doctor of color, having a nurse of color, we understand certain things about each other.
Mhm.
It was and I can't remember where I saw it. It was on either a podcast or something, and it was a situation about a lady. She may have just either had a baby or something, but something was going on with her, and they were actually about to like commit her to maybe like psychiatric or something, right? So I think it was something where she really couldn't talk, but she was patting her head. They said she kept doing it, right? White nurses and doctors, they were like, something's wrong with her. Like she keeps patting her head, patting her. And then a black nurse or doctor finally came in, and she said, nothing's wrong with her. She patted her head because her hair is itching.
Yes.
She has Proxen.
Yes, yes,
And so if she wouldn't have stepped in to even like nothing's wrong with her. This is like
yes,
that we do. We actually pat our head without like we don't like when the squash
yeah.
because this, whatever. She had to explain the whole situation. But what if she wasn't there? Like they really thought something was wrong with her.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so it's the small things that we understand, that we know that unfortunately, because we are of the same culture, we understand each other. It's things that we can, come and assist with that other people would then misdiagnose.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, it's just so important to make sure you're advocating for yourself, especially with your physical health needs. Make sure if your doctor is not listening, you can go to another one. People don't understand that we have the right to go to a different doctor.
Mhm.
We have the right to tell them to write down everything in our chart, everything that we're telling them. We have the right to say, I want to get tested for something,
Mhm.
even if it's not time. They tell us that, oh, you don't have to start doing mammograms until after you're 40. But what about the young ladies who are getting triple negative breast cancer in their 30s?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
No, don't tell me I gotta wait till I'm at the 40. No, I need to check now.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You
Big
know,
that's so important. That is so important.
so it's important for us to also know the statistics. Black women get triple negative breast cancer far greater, and we also don't survive it. And so it's those different things that we also just have to be aware of. We need to know the facts. We need to know what's going on, right? Don't allow someone to tell you how to respond to your body.
Mhm. Mhm.
You are feeling it. You know yourself. And so even though they may be the professional, you are the professional of your body.
Yes.
So I think for us, whether it's mental health, whether it's physical health, if you know something is wrong with you, you continue to advocate for it until someone helps you in the
Yes.
manner that they should. And so
Yes.
that's mentally and physically.
Yes.
So, all that to say, unfortunately, we still are having a lot of challenges in
Mhm.
the medical field with really being supported in the
Yes.
manner that we should.
Mhm. How would you and I definitely want to wrap up because typically we be on here for hours, but I'm not going to do that tonight. How would you say one could find the right therapist for them? Where should they look? Where could they look? But even in looking, what are they looking for?
Yeah. So one, there's a lot of different directories now around. Make sure you go to psychologytoday.com. Mostly every therapist that has a practice have a profile on there. We have a profile on there. All of my colleagues I know have a profile on there. So that's psychologytoday.com. If you're
Okay.
particularly looking for like a Black or brown therapist, it's one, and I think it's called Black. What is it called? Dr. Joy actually has it, and I'll look it up. I think it calls Black Therapy. So hold on, Dr. Joy, so I can get you the correct
Okay.
Dr. Joy Barnett. Therapy for Black girls.
Oh, yes, yes,
Um,
yes. Yes,
yep,
yes.
that is her. You can go search that. She has a whole list of therapists. Black and Black therapists, so you can check that as well. But Google is your friend. Get on Google Black therapists near me, or whatever therapist that you're looking for. So I would also think about what gender do you want.
Mm-hmm.
What values, like, are you looking for someone that's a Christian therapist? Are you looking for someone that's LGBTQ friendly, or or you want them to actually be LGBTQ? So know kind of what you're looking for
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
first, and then do that search, because within Psychology Today, you can literally put all of that in your search.
Okay.
If you're looking for someone that specializes in anxiety, they're Black, they're a female, they're located in this area, you can put all of that within your search. And you can also put your insurance in there,
Okay.
and it will drill all the way down. So I think first, knowing kind of the basics on what you're looking for, the demographics of what type of therapist you want, and then do some consultations.
Okay.
So when you reach out to a therapist, just say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. This is, I would like to do a consultation. If I'm sending therapists to some of my, friends or colleagues, I send them a few. And then I say, have a consultation. See how you feel with the person. Ask them questions. Get their take on how they actually
Yes.
um how do they actually, their methods, what methodology do they use, get a feel for their personality. And so you can ask questions around, one, what is their experience with working with individuals with that have the same thing that you're dealing with. How long have they been a therapist? What's their methods? Like, you can get just a little bit about their background.
Okay.
So I would do that. Have a couple of consultations with therapists, see how you feel with them. And remember, even if you have a couple of sessions and you feel like it's just not clicking, you can terminate therapy and just go find another therapist. You're not married to a therapist.
Okay.
You're not. So I think that's kind of the main things, just understanding like what you want in a therapist, and then figuring out if their personality is good for you. Because some people, they may need a therapist who is more like firm, that's going to hold them accountable, that won't allow them to just come in and,
Mm-hmm.
give them some BS type deal. Some
Yeah.
people need that, and they actually want that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some people, they may just need a really nice, really, just let me kind of, do my thing type of therapist. So it's really on the way where you actually need.
Okay. And as we prepare to close, what would you leave the listeners with, and then where can they find you, and are you open to new clients?
So I think I will leave everyone with, make sure that you are prioritizing your own mental health. Make sure that you don't just talk about self-care, but you are intentional about self-care. Um, and then make sure that you are setting your boundaries
Mm-hmm.
out of work, at work, with family, with friends. because all of those things plays into, you know, your mental health and supporting it. So, you know, all in all, you know, just you know, do what's best for you. We only have one life.
Mhm.
We're not going to be here forever. We don't know, you know, when that time will come, but just make sure that, you know, you are prioritizing yourself and don't feel guilty for that. So that's what I will leave everyone with. Um, you can find me on LinkedIn, one, with my name. If you search my name, Christi Venable, you will find me. I'm all over LinkedIn. We do have an Instagram, so go follow Smile's Instagram. It's Smile Therapy LLC. On Instagram, it's Smile Therapy Services. On Facebook, and we also have a LinkedIn as well, Smile Therapy Services. You can find us as well. So go follow us on all of our socials. We do have a YouTube as well, but we're going to start by putting videos on there. We are YouTube Smile Therapy Services as well. So definitely follow us. Smile is open for adult clients who have availability during the day. I personally, I don't do therapy. However, I do business consulting, and I also do executive wellness coaching. So that's something that I personally do. And then I also do speaking engagements for organizations, and then I do workshops and professional development as well. But my team, my team of therapists, they actually do the actual individual therapy services for the community side, in addition to some of our work on the corporate side as well. So that's really how you can get in touch with me. If you find me on LinkedIn, friend me, send me a message, you know, let me know you found me here. And, you know, if you need anything, feel free to send me a message. I can definitely support you in, you know, just trying to find a therapist. And also, if you have insurance, everyone may not know, but you have case managers at your insurance. So if you go in the back of your card and call that customer care line, they will actually do the work for you.
Mhm.
So you tell them everything that you're looking for in a therapist, and they will actually find you one in your network, in your area, for you. So that's another space that you can go to also, just to find a therapist. But definitely connect with me. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Connect with us on Instagram. We also have a wellness experience retreat coming up. The Smile,
Ooh.
yes. We have the Refreshing Smile Experience. Retreat is going to be in June the 15th. If you go to our Instagram, you can find the link there in our link tree to register. So registration just opened up. We have some VIP slots left, and we have general admission. It's going to be a all day. It is going to be a day of experiences where you can really just focus on yourself. We're going to have so many different things, from sound therapy, massage therapists there. You know, we're going to be doing some art therapy, grief experiential, some candle making. We're going to be doing a lot of things. And we're also looking for vendors. So if you want to be a vendor, you can actually just email us now, info@smiletherapyservices.com. If you want to be a vendor, we're looking for wellness vendors. So if you have any type of wellness products, service, book, you know, anything,
Okay.
for it specifically, we're targeting business owners and executives. So if you want to get in that space and be in that networking space, reach out to us. Either send us an email, info@smiletherapyservices.com, or you can find the link to sign up on our Instagram. It's in our link tree for the experience.
That is so good. Listen, I'm looking at my calendar now. I know my residency is coming up, and I think that's in July. So
Yes, June the 15th.
yeah, so I'm going to make arrangements to go to this. I hope some of my sisters and friends and
Yes.
family will join me for that. So it's just one day.
It's just one day. It's
Okay.
going to be a full day, and we're going to end it with some cocktails.
Yes, 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 yes. I like that for us. Yes, cocktails. Dr. Christi, thank you so very much for this. I know that this was a needed conversation. I needed it, but I also know that my supporters needed it. I know that my friends needed it. I know that my collaborators needed it because, again, I get the DMs, I get the inboxes, I get the text messages, and we're all fighting for our life every day. We
Yeah.
just like, what to do about this? What's going on here? What's going on there? And so I always want to be intentional about what I bring to them, and how I bring things to them, because it is important. Because my people, I love my tribe, I love my people. I see my colleagues are here, and it is also important to work with people who you can gel with, like who got your back, who looking out for you, right? You know, we have a group text with that's work related, and then we have a colleague group text that ain't work related, because guess what? We got each other's backs. And so I appreciate the people that God has placed in my life in this
Yeah.
season. They're adults, right? They have businesses of their own. They are professors, they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're therapists, they're teachers, they're correctional officers, they're police officers, they're business owners. And so we all need a safe place to come and just
Yeah.
lay, and a soft place to land. And so I appreciate you for allowing us to be in your space. Speak Well podcast is not just mine, it's yours too. Anytime you want to come, anytime you want to share, I'm going to push the retreat. I don't know if you all have a flyer. I'm looking online. If you, I
Yeah.
see
I
something.
will. Yep.
Yes, and it's in Columbia. I love Columbia, so I'm
Columbia,
going to push
Maryland.
it. We're going to get together, and we're going to gather, and we're going to come. We're going to come, and we're going to sit, and we're going to listen, and we're going to just enjoy the moment. But again, thank you so much. You are always welcome here. If I can be of any assistance to you, feel free to call me. You know, we girls now. Like, you can't get rid of me. But this was so good for me.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when I bring guests, it's not just because others want to hear this, because I want to have a private conversation and let the public listen in. And this was perfect. So thank you very much. Call me. I'm just a phone call away. Someone asked about the information, so I will get you her information. Make sure before she logs out, follow her on Instagram.
Yes,
Um,
follow me. Follow us on Instagram. Go on my LinkedIn as well. I have the events under my name, but I can, if once I'll get the YouTube, so I can also put it in the comments as well. And I'll make sure you guys have it. But definitely follow us, Smile Therapy LLC. That's our Instagram. And you will, in our link tree, you'll see the wellness experience. The link is right there. You can go in there, you can register, get your ticket. It's general admission, and then it's VIP. I think it's like $249 for
okay.
general admission, $349 for VIP.
Okay.
So be in a place. It
And
is
that's
going
an
to be.
investment. I always talk to
It
y'all about
is, but you know what?
investment.
It's for yourself. We're gonna be there all day. We're gonna have breakfast. We're gonna have lunch. We're gonna have snacks. We're gonna have
Yes,
cocktails at the end.
yes,
So we're making it. This is not just a regular kind of event. This is an elevated experience
yes. Yeah, Ella, I
that we are curating for the best of us. And so we want you to leave there refreshed. You're going to leave there with even more sisters and brothers in your network.
yes,
And you're going to leave there with tools and tips, right? You're going to leave there with so many different things that we're going to create together. We're going to teach you, we want this to be not just even you experiencing the different events that we have, but we're gonna give you some tools. We're gonna give you some strategies so that you can take that with you and have it when you actually need it.
okay. Thank you for that. You all got the information. It's on you to make the investment in yourselves. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all letting me know that you've registered. So Christy, I'm on it. I'm on it, and I'm on them. You know,
And
I'm going
I'm gonna send you the info.
yeah, send me the info so because I also want to share the flyer on my Facebook page and on my
Perfect.
Instagram as well, and on all my platforms too. Because sometimes a lot of times people don't watch me live. They go back and watch the replay. But I have a lot of people who follow me, so I definitely want to
Okay.
share the information so we can get you. How many seats?
It's gonna be small, so we're only doing a maximum of 50.
Okay, okay, okay.
So get in there
Get in there.
because
Okay, you all hear that?
it small and
Maximum of
intimate.
50. Okay. So look for registrations for many of us because we do have 249. We do have 349. I know how much they make. I've seen it. I know what I know what they got. So look for registrations from us in the next coming weeks. We are so grateful for you. Keisha saying thank you, Christy.
You're
Um, I
welcome.
definitely needed this. We all needed this, and we are looking forward to sitting with you very soon. Take care.
Yes. Well, I hope I see some of you guys in person. Thank you for
Absolutely.
having me. Please just connect with me, reach out. I'll support in any way that I can.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye-bye.